Hi everyone, my name is Cindy Darnode. Thank you for joining this new session of the Supply Chain Leaders webinar series today. Firstly, a big thank you to our speakers, Elsa CROS and Baptiste Saissac. They are respectively S&OP Manager and Demand Manager at Haribo France. FuturMaster really appreciates you taking the time to share the experience on how you're ensuring high performance in a world disrupted by COVID-19. The presentation will last about 30 minutes and will be followed by a 15-minute Q&A session at the end. If you've got any questions as we go through the presentation, you can ask them in the Q&A section of your screen. I'll now hand over to Elsa and Baptiste to begin the presentation.
Thank you, Cindy. Good morning, everyone. I am very happy to share with you today our experience at Haribo France on how we have coped with the COVID situation the past year. The presentation will be divided into 3 parts. Baptiste Saissac will present the company and the brand. I will then go through the transformation we have done on our supply chain and our planning processes the past few years. And then we will focus more on what we have put in place as a response to the COVID crisis, and that had a big impact on our business and operations. Baptiste, you can go on.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Baptiste Saissac. I'm demand manager since January 2020. We are very happy to share our experience today. I will present you a story of the brand. Hans Riegel and his wife Gertrude opened their first factory in the Bonn district in 1920. They start out with a set of sugar, a copper pot, and a roller. So last year, we have celebrated 100 years of Haribo. Do you know where the name of the brand comes from? First name, Haribo is a decomposition of 3 elements. First name and last name of the founder, H-A for Hans, R-I for Riegel, and B-O for Bonn, the first localization of his workshop. Haribo is a leader of the confectionery market. We have 16 production sites in the world. The next challenge for Haribo is to develop business outside Europe, such as the United States, where the potential of the market is huge. We export products in more than 100 countries, and we have 19 distribution subsidiaries. Now, Haribo has 7,000 employees between distribution subsidiaries and production sites. In France, we have 2 production sites. Creation of Haribo France following the takeover of the Réglisse Lorette in 1967 in Marseille, and 20 years after, Haribo France became Haribo Réclesans by taking over Réclesans in US. Here you can see location of our 2 production sites in Southeast. Haribo France produces 50,000 tons on a yearly basis. There are 2 markets behind Germany headquarters in Europe with UK and France. We have around 750 employees whose 100 people are located in head office. French people know this brand and love it. In the last survey, 99% of people say that they know Haribo France. So Haribo in France has a great, powerful brand. Haribo remains the leader in France thanks to the diversity products, quality, trust. Our main competitors are M&M's, Skittles, Tête Brûlée, and CPK with Caramba and Lutti. Each generation loves Haribo products. That you can see, each family of products have a consumer target, like Chamallow for people between 4 and 55 years. This product is loved by everyone. Haribo Sour for young teenagers and young adults. Licorice and mint is the adult target. We have 4 main pillars in our portfolio in Haribo France. For each of them, we could associate special moments in our day-to-day. For example, Tagada for moments of letting go, Dragibus with colors as a fragrance, Haribo Sour for adventure and passion, Chamallow to share moments with family. Now, Elsa will talk about transformation of the supply chain.
Thank you, Baptiste. We will now go a bit more into details on the supply chain side of Haribo France. So first, we wanted to highlight what are our main challenges as a supply chain today. And I'm sure that many of you on the call will also recognize the challenges. We ended up with 4 big missions, let's say. The first one is clearly to consolidate our excellent end-to-end service rate with our customers, of course, but also our third parties, suppliers, and internal partners. Second one is clearly to support the growth plans and the business strategy of Haribo France in different distribution channels. And this is through innovation with many product launches and also the position on promotional campaigns along the year. Third one is to keep on increasing our efficiency, but remain agile. It's good to put in place processes, but it has to bring efficiency. And the last but very important one as well is to make a successful transition to a green supply chain with more natural ingredients in our recipes, but also take more responsibility in the new packaging development we are making and also in our transport. So looking back on the transformation we have started a few years ago now, and with the situation we have known last year, we really realized that it was very important to have done that transformation before, because it really helped us to better cope with the COVID crisis we experienced last year. So the first step, I think, was in 2014, important step, because we have put in place a proper demand planning and activity management organization. So we had people dedicated to build forecasts at SKU level and also to follow all the projects of our brand on the operational side. Then in 2016, 2 years later, we have started to implement the first 2 steps of the S&OP process, so the demand and the supply review. So we had proper meeting with our stakeholders, sales and marketing, but also with production during our supply meeting. In 2017, that was also a big milestone for us because we had the go live of our application FuturMaster. So we implemented the promo management and the forecasting tool together with a homemade supply planning tool. So that was really an important step for us. And also it could enable us to introduce and run the SNLP executive meeting with our board. So in 3 different steps, we have put in place people, processes, and tools. From 2018, we could really see a great improvement on our key indicators, such as, of course, forecast accuracy, but also customer service level and the quality of our stock. In 2019, we have decided to run a health check, a kind of audit. The idea was to assess where do we stand, identify all the rooms for improvement, and of course, put in place corrective action. 2020, we had the plan to really bring maturity to the S&OP process. We had a little hiccup called Covid-19, which really kept us very busy last year. And if we think about the next step for us, I believe that implementing demand sensing is also a great direction for us in terms of forecasting process. So if we have to compare the way we used to work and where we stand today, the conclusion is clear that we have a better control of the S&OP process, and it really enables us to have good decision making, which is the ultimate benefit, I think, of the S&OP process. So before, we used to have absolutely no connection between our different systems. We had lots of manual entries and updates. Of course, as a consequence, we had to spend lots of time on data reprocessing. And we were not in a position to run S&OP cycle every month. It was most of the time every quarter. But now we have moved to a much better situation where we have improved the quality of our data, and we have a better process integration and automation. We can work on scenarios for this rapid decision making. And very important, we have built a great collaborative forecast process with our sales and marketing team here. And it really helps us to reinforce that one figure culture. It's very important to see that today the forecast which is coming out of the supply chain is considered as a reference in the company in France. So it's a great achievement. We have decided to go to a typical monthly S&OP cycle with a tactical horizon of 18 months. We, of course, spend more time on the next 12 months, but 2 times a year, we really try to work on a longer horizon. So the first 2 weeks are dedicated to demand. Every first week of month, we spend time with sales and marketing on innovation and promotion review. We want to reassess all assumptions on rotation, potential of a product, and also on promotion for the coming months, because they have the best information from the field. And those 2 types of volume, innovation and promotion, are clearly where we have most variation, and the volatility is very high. Then the second week, we have a complete demand review where we also work on our baseline, which is directly impacted by innovation and promotion cannibalization. And we intend to have a clear consensus and a sign-off from all parties at the end of this week. We then release those volumes to the supply team so that they can work on the production plan for the coming months, and also to finance so that they can start to translate volume into values. At the end of the month, we run the executive meeting with the board. The objective is clear to have a plan validation on volume and values, and of course take all the decisions that has been escalated to them. Because we work in the confectionery market, and our main channel is modern trade, it requires also a more short-term approach, because we have lots of changes. Our customers are very demanding and ask us for lots of flexibility. So we have decided to also have a weekly process where we can have a meeting with sales and marketing on short-term. All promotion, all innovation that can have an impact on the demand, and we make changes. We follow the project. We also have proper planning with proper meetings, with the entire planning team. So production, of course, but co-packing, what we call intercompany. So all the products that we import from other Haribo subsidiaries, and of course material planning. So altogether, we are looking at all the SKU, which could be at risk. It's either too high or too low. Too high, we have a risk of obsolete stock, and too low, of course, we have a risk of shortages. So we want to have, and we want to take immediate corrective actions and change plans, and try to find any option with the customer or with our suppliers. So that's really short-term oriented, and to maximize and optimize our customer service rates. So in a few years, we could see a great improvement on our key indicators. The forecast accuracy has been improved by 22% in 5 years on our baseline products. And it really helped, of course, to improve our service rate by 0.5% in 3 years. 0.5% might seem low, but in fact, it's quite important. It's a great achievement. We also could improve and reduce the penalties with our customers. And a direct consequence is the improvement of our stock quality. So we used to have the share of our stock at risk from 8% to less than 2% on compared to our total stock. So it's also a great achievement. So now we will focus more into details on what has been put in place as a response to the COVID crisis the past year, and how we try to really ensure high performance operational excellence in a world disrupted by the COVID-19.
Last year, with the COVID-19, environment has changed. We had to adapt our collaborative process in order to support impact of crisis. We have noted many consequences in our supply chain department, like a disturbed demand, with some distribution channel completely at a standstill, like retail, with our 17 stores. Difficulties in the supply of raw materials and packaging. Lead time in supply are increased for our components for promotional campaign. Disrupted availability of resources and adaptation to new health recommendations. We had to adapt planning based on availability of resources. Daily changing environment. Business assumption changing every day. First priority for steering committee was to keep people safe and healthy. You can see several action plan with adaptation of workstation and implementation of home-based work, changing workflows in factories. We have reinforced hygiene measures, provision of masks, taking of temperature and hydroalcoholic gel, introduction of bonus for factory staff, and 100% compensation for short time working for sales force.
Okay, then priority number 2 was clearly to ensure the business continuity, and that has been done through implementation of collaborative process, internal collaborative process, in order to support the crisis management. So what we used to do every month, we had to break it down to a weekly process. So we have a crisis call with sales and marketing in order to review all the innovation and promotion assumptions. For instance, if we look at innovation, the board has decided to postpone by a few months the launch of a product called Cocoa Baby with 30% less sugar. That was initially planned in the middle of the first lockdown. And this project was very important for the company. The team were working on it for many months, and lots of energy and investment was ready. So, but the board has decided to postpone it. So that was one of the big decision and consequence of the crisis management. We also had an extra focus with customers on their engagement and feedback on promotional highlights. Because, for instance, we had this soccer game, which was planned last year. We had a big campaign to support that and animate the brand. And at the very last moment, it was, of course, cancelled. So we had to adjust and change all plans. So we review on a weekly basis the three coming months. And instead of entering forecasts on a monthly basis, we had to implement forecasts in a weekly bucket. We also had daily and then weekly calls with operations, so production, logistics, supply chain, and we had to review the production plan for the coming weeks and everything that can have an impact on the French or intercompany plans. We had a special focus on reviewing indicators such as stock coverage, of course, customer service rates, and the risk of overstock and obsolescence. That was really a main focus for us. We also made some technical changes in our planning processes. We used to send updated forecasts every week to our production plan, and we decided to change from a weekly to a daily processing. So basically, every time you change a forecast on Monday, it has to be visible in the planning tool the next day, so it can be taken into account in all the planning behind. We also implemented specific reports in order to monitor the situation that was coming out of FuturMaster as well. So the first wave was absorbed. I know that we are still in the middle of the COVID crisis, but we could see that at the end of 2020, our forecast accuracy for non-promotional items came back to a level of 78%. We have been down to less than 50% during some months last year. The service rate was maintained up to 99%, and our quality and the quality of our stock came back to normal with less than 3% of stock at risk out of total stock. So the main key success factors, if we want to look back on that special year, the first one is, for me, very important. It's human, and we had very dedicated and experienced teams that has been committed for all the period and still is very committed. So the first success factor is clearly human. And then the second one is the flexibility we could find in our planning processes and tools. So we could put in place very quickly a very strong collaboration with our stakeholders. And also we could, in a few days, adapt our planning tool. The changes I mentioned just before has been done in less than a week. So we could work and translate our monthly S&OP process into a weekly one very quickly. And of course, the third one is the outstanding collaboration and the agility we had with internal teams such as sales and marketing, but also operations, and also external with our customers, suppliers, with whom we could work very closely. And that still remains the case today. I think to conclude, we wanted to look a little bit ahead on the long term and see what we have learned from that period. So the first learning was that we have to keep on reviewing and challenging our workflow, and always in favor of European partners, so that we can accelerate also our transformation towards a more green supply chain. Second one is that we are seeing the need for an appropriate business continuity plan. We have to maintain that agility. We have to maintain that level of excellence. We also have to maintain multi-sourcing in order to limit our dependence with some suppliers or logistic providers. And the fourth, but also very important for me, is to keep on developing the skills of our team. It has to be on the technical side, but also on management side and digital, so that all the teams remain committed and experienced. I think we are right on time. That's about it for us. We thank you very much for listening, and I think Cindy, tell me if you have any questions.
Yes, thank you very much, Elsa and Baptiste, for this presentation and for sharing your insights with us today. We received many questions from the attendees, and we are going to try to respond to as many as possible during this 15-minute Q&A session. So the first question is, how did you evaluate the sales forecast during the first 2 lockdowns?
Okay. Every day we have improved our collaboration with the sales and marketing. We kept in touch with business team in order to measure impact on our business and to take assumptions for short term. And we have taken information from Nielsen with the marketing team.
Okay, thank you, Baptiste. How is your S&OP shared with sales?
Maybe I can take this one. Over the past few years, I think we have built a strong relationship with them. We have their commitment, and they understand the need for them to share all assumptions and everything, all the information they get from the customers or the market. And then we have this regular meeting with them where we discuss all the assumptions for the coming months and anything that is coming from the field, like a product being listing in or out. As long as we stay, let's say, connected, we keep that flexibility. So it's on a monthly basis, and we have built together with them special reports we can share, and where they get all the information they need also on their side. And what is also a big improvement for us, that we have started to work together with finance in order to translate our forecast in volume, but also in value. So I think we will bring more maturity to the process with them if we work in that direction.
Okay, thank you, Elsa. Looking back, do you think you made the right decision by postponing the product launch of the mini crocodile?
Okay. Yes, we have made the right decision with postponing of a few months, because we were able to support this SKU with our sales force in store. This launch was prepared for many years, and with this disrupted environment, we didn't have choice, because if you miss the launch of new products at the first time, it's difficult to implement this innovation after. This decision was understood by our customer, and today we can say that mini crocodile with sugar reduced has a good performance.
Okay, thank you, Baptiste. How do you measure forecast accuracy? To the SKU or to the family?
Okay. Each month, forecast accuracy is measured, and this accuracy is based on our forecast in 2 and 3 months before, and we work with our global planning colleague. We measure our forecast accuracy to the SKU, and we make reports by distribution channel or promotional and baseline product or Nielsen family.
Okay.
I think by doing it at the SKU level, it really gives you the direct impact on our operational planning.
Okay. And how long does it take to set up for the process and forecasting tool?
It is never ending. No, but we started to put in place the resources in 2014, and then it took us, I think, 2 years to really implement the process, educate people, make them understand what we are trying to do, what is an S&OP process. And then if we talk about the forecasting tool, it took us a bit more than a year to implement both promo module and forecasting module. We had two main phases. The first one was to design the tool we wanted to have in order to make it really adapted to our needs. And then the second phase was more technical specification and setup. So I would say 1 or 2 years to work on the process and 1 year to work on the forecast. And afterwards, you can see improvement in your KPI. Of course, you can do everything at the same time, but for us, it was this way.
Okay. Are you planning on using artificial intelligence to improve your forecast?
Yes, this is something we are thinking and discussing. We are now working with FuturMaster on a project where we intend to implement our Nielsen data. So basically all the sellout data, everything which is sold out in the shops, so that it can bring much deeper analysis on the trend of a product, of a customer, and of a product family. Maybe the next step, and we need to think about it, is to integrate that data in the statistic calculation of our forecast. At the moment, that will be only for information. We have everything maintained in one tool, which is very useful and efficient. And thinking about demand sensing in the future is clearly something we have on our agenda.
Okay. Will the crisis have an impact on promotional activity in 2021, and how do you anticipate it?
It's difficult to know how crisis will impact our promotional activity. If you have recommendation, we are interested, but we can see that thanks to this situation, we have more a collaborative approach with customer, and it helps to anticipate promotional volumes.
Yeah, it's something that we have put in place during the crisis period, but we intend to keep on live afterwards because it's a good opportunity to discuss about volume anticipation with customers, because we both are willing to have good business together. So we tend to talk more and more to supply team at our customers. So they have the best view on the market, on the field, and they know best what they are planning to do in the coming months. So the more we share with them, the more and the better accuracy we will get for us in our planning.
Okay. Next question is, how did you develop collaborative work during the 2 lockdowns?
I think the first lockdown, everybody was at home, so it was mainly via conferences, teleconferences, and we could work very closely this way. We had regular meetings with the sales team and the marketing team, so that they can share what information they get from the customer or what information they get from the seller data, like Nielsen. And then we could translate that into our forecast on a weekly basis. We used to work on a monthly, but then we had to go down to weekly. So, and take all the assumptions, information from them, and translate them into a planning. So collaboration was, I would say, kind natural, because everybody understood the importance of collaboration. There was no resistance, and I think it's also because we were used to work together before, and all this consensus and collaboration we have implemented the past 2 years through the SNLP process really helped us during the first lockdown, because we were used, we had good habits, and we know what we are talking about, so it was quickly implemented.
One last question. What was the impact of COVID on your demand? And if there has been an impact, how do you prevent it from impacting your statistical future forecast too heavily?
Yes, of course, we had an impact. As Baptiste mentioned, for instance, all our Haribo shops were closed almost 3 months last year. So that's a direct impact on our sales. Also, what we call the traditional channel, impulse channels, so all the bakeries, wholesalers, where the business was not at zero, but really, really reduced. So it was a situation that we have not anticipated with Baptiste during the FuturMaster setting up, because I never thought that this could happen one day. So I didn't have a technical functionality in the tool in the first step, but we could, as I said, change the planning process. So instead of updating the forecast every week to the planning team, we could have done it on a daily basis. So every day we were working on forecast. Every day, all the planning, end-to-end planning, was updated. Very important to get that flexibility. And it's that experience made us change a little bit the way we are using the tool now, because as an example, we have now implemented a new functionality where we could, if needed, impact an entire distribution channel by 40%, for instance. Because we, the way we used to make forecasts with our team was really at product or product family level, or even customers. So it was really detailed. But when you have an entire channel being reduced by 40%, you have to go in a more drastic approach. So this was not available during the first lockdown. We had a few manual work to do, but now we have that possibility in the tool. I would say thanks to that experience, now we are able, and it's really interesting to have that new functionality in the tool. It helps us.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you. Thank you very much, Elsa and Baptiste, for your presentation today.
Thank you.
And thank you to all the attendees for joining. We are very much interested in having your feedback on this webinar, so please take a couple of minutes to fill in the evaluation survey that you will be receiving shortly. You will also receive the recording of the webinar by email tomorrow. And last but not least, our next Supply Chain Leaders webinar will be on the 20th of April and will be presented by Adiseo, the global leader in nutritional additives for livestock and animal feed. Thank you again to everyone for joining today, and we wish you a very good day or evening.